Good evening or morning, everyone. It's been a eventful past couple days. Sorry, I look like hell. I've been in bedridden or whatever it's called, so I can finally talk about what's been going on with me these last couple weeks that I wasn't able to talk about. I make a long story short, I had basically I've been going through this domestic relations issue with my oldest son's mother, and she's a not very good person, we'll just say. And make a long story short, like I said, I paid it off in full, 30 some $1,000 as of August of last year, something like that. And the case was closed, and she started using again and took me for domestics again for support and all that. Keep in mind, I pay for everything, paid for the car, everything. I mean, just gave her another $5,000. Like, I'm not a deadbeat. I pay tons of money, and it's just whatever. The point is she's using, probably the worst thing that you can use, and just got out of rehab a week ago. Well, the point is I had some troubles, like I said, for some marijuana, and it led to probation. So when this whole domestic issue arose, I basically was not trying to pay, $400 and some a month to support somebody's drug habit. I mean, it's just absurd. I had full custody. I'm not even going to go into all my personal stuff, but I am not a scumbag, deadbeat, person. Everything was paid off. So anyway, it's gone for about 4 or 5 months now, and we've been, going through it, and just this whole just nasty case has been going on. And they issued a warrant for not showing up to a hearing. So because that warrant was issued, I knew that I would have to pay, however much money, $1,000 it is now. And because of that, I would have been violated on the probation. So I was basically trying to wait until I got my income tax to pay, everything off. And in the meantime, a violation was issued because of not reporting. And, I had that over my head. So, when the probation officers came to the house, they had told my neighbors that I was dangerous and that I was wanted for attempted manslaughter and robbery and like all types of crazy stuff. They said they came twice, I guess, and said the first time they said robbery, then the second time they said attempted manslaughter. And what they were doing was just basically trying to scare my neighbors into giving them information about me, which none of it was true, but that's one of the tactics they use. So anyway, I heard, obviously this all came back to me, and when you hear something like that, you think, holy shit, like what the hell are they talking about, So I was scared, and I thought that, maybe somebody was trying to set me up for something, or because of, all the stuff, the videos I post, that there was some type of, something going on. And, like I said, I was obviously worried about it, and it is what it is. So anyway, everything finally came to a head, about 3 days ago now. I was downstairs with my wife, got a knock on the door, and, it was domestics, and, they basically, called the local police for backup, and, my wife went to the door and asked them if they had a warrant, and they did, and basically it ended with them coming in the house, and I, dropped out the window, and in dropping out the window, I broke both my legs. It was a 3-story drop, and I'll show you. You can see, I don't know how to turn this around. Well, see. Both of my legs ended up getting broken. So, when I hit the ground, they both just snapped, and apparently I made it another 10 feet, and then I just laid down, and the guys are like, buddy, what the hell are you doing? And, I'm like, my legs are broke, and they're like, well, that was pretty stupid. We're only here for domestic relations. All you had to do was come in and talk to us or go see the judge. And I'm like, what? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, well, somebody else was here and said that, all this other stuff. And they're like, well, that wasn't us. And come to find out, it was probation. And all this stemmed from domestic relations. But the crazy thing about all this is I kept having these visions. Like before they would come, I would have a vision. Like I had said in the one video, the night before the one time they had came, I was changing the baby, and I had that. I was, just humming to myself, "Take me out to the ball game." And the last phrase of that is, and it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out. And that was a message, that caused me, to think, 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out. Shit, I better go. So I left, and they came the next day. So this is the premonition, the intuition that has been going. So the other night, I'm laying in bed, and I had this whole series of visions, and basically what the gist of it was that everything was going to be fine. I had nothing to worry about, and that everything was going to work itself out. And that was pretty hard to believe the other night. By the situation that I had thought was going on because of all these, he said, she said, So, anyway, I told my wife, I said, I just had this string of visions, and, they told me that, everything is going to be all right, as hard as that is to believe. And, so I kind of let my guard down, and, I trust in my intuition. As you all know that have been following along, if you're new watching this, and you need to watch, the past videos that I've posted, but, I'm a good person. I try to help people. You guys know this is what I do. And, I don't do criminal activity. I'm not, I don't do any of that stuff. As you know, I sit here and, I work. Well, I did work, and, I make these videos to try to help people, discover their higher power or their intuition, and learn how to use these psychic powers that we all inherently possess. So, anyway, I go to the hospital, and I had these warrants for the domestics and for the probation, and I was in there for 2 days or something, and they had to do surgery. They operated and put these braces on my legs. They put all the bones back where they should go, and it was too swollen to do the surgery, so they put these braces on, and they released me like the next day or something like that, and I got to go back and get 2 more surgeries, and they said I have a 30% chance of walking normal again. So I screwed my life up, pretty much. I made a stupid decision that I can't take back now, and I have kids, and obviously you need your legs to play baseball and basketball and run around with your kids. I have my son every day, so now he's got to go to his grandmother's because I can't take care of him, and it's a shitty situation. But I've spoken a lot about sacrifice, and what sacrifice, how the ultimate sacrifice that Jesus made was by giving his life for our sins, and how through that sacrifice, the ultimate sacrifice, which was basically choosing to pass on with no fear or any type of anything through love, basically by creating a template, an energy template that we can all assume, basically by by doing what Jesus did, which is showing unconditional love without judgment. And this sacrifice that has been made, which is my legs, basically my my life, through the worst thing that could possibly happen, there was light. So when the sheriffs came to pick me up to take me to jail for the warrants, they went to put me in the car, and they couldn't get me in the car, so they called another car to drive all the way up, and they called a truck, and the truck came up, and they ended up calling their superiors, and they determined, that they weren't going to put me in jail, so they released me home, and that's where I am. So I'm home, and I been talking with the domestics people, and they're the nicest people in the world. It got transferred to another county, but they're actually awesome, and I talked to the probation, and same thing. When I got on the phone with the guy, he was very, very nice, and it was just like, you're pretty much a dumbass. Like, this wasn't even serious. Well, it's serious in the sense that it is what it is, but I made a stupid decision, and now I'm paying dearly for it. This is lifelong. This is a lifelong injury. But they're basically, everybody's trying to work with me and help me, to get through this situation now. I was almost done with everything. I only had like a year left to go. I haven't been in any trouble. I don't do anything. I'm a good person. I don't get, I don't, that's actually, like, I work, I'm a union carpenter, I won't be doing that for a while, but the point is that, I kept my faith through all this, and I was shown that everything would work out, and that everything would be fine, and that I had nothing to worry about. And the craziest part about all that is that the day before this happened, I had a vision of a window in my mind. And it was just a square window. It wasn't attached to a house, a door, nothing. It was just a window. And it had, like, how the windows have the little cross pieces that go through it. It had like an X cross piece through it. And I was trying to, to interpret what a window could mean. So I'm thinking, a window. What does a window symbolize? So I'm running through all these things, of what it could mean, as in the way that I have said that, that you interpret this language. And I couldn't put it together. And as I say in a lot of the other videos, it's because the situation hadn't occurred yet to put the rest of the pieces together with it. So obviously now I know where the window fits in, because that's where I went out. That's how this happened. But the point is that my higher power showed me, that everything was fine. And the whole time it was telling me everything was fine. But my conscious mind let fear drive me and take over my actions. And that's, what happens to us on a daily basis. We let our fears and our conscious thinking, our everyday cognitive thought, take over our intuition and our heart thinking, and dictate to us what our actions are. And 99.9%, if not 100% of the time, it's always wrong and the thing that you don't want to do. So I'm starting to realize that anything you consciously desire or want or think that's good or that you should do isn't. So, it's just like, but here's where it even gets a little bit crazier. So last night, I'm sitting with my wife, and we're just like, thank God that this whole ordeal is over with. I mean, I've got a long road ahead of me of recovery now, but the stress was unbearable, and we just couldn't live with it. We've been together for 7 years. We're a family. We're not like some, crazy scumbag criminal, like, I don't know. But we're like a normal family. Like, like this is my studio room. Like I don't like, I'm not living in like, a shack somewhere like or my mother's basement. Like I have a home, beautiful children, the whole nine. I'm a normal American citizen. I pay taxes. I'm not, and it's just crazy. But anyway, so we're sitting there talking about all this and just grateful that this ordeal is over. And I had this vision of I was trying to describe it to her. It was a black circle that had a white it looked like a crescent moon, but it was like the circle. Now today I'll just say it because it's easier to describe it like this. It looked like an eclipse, and it was like a black circle moving over a white circle, but there was only the crescent part showing. Like the eclipse was almost full, but it wasn't. There was still the little bit of white underneath of it, and the top part was dark. The bottom part was white, and it kind of looked like like a not a like kind of like a chevron, but not but a circle. And I was trying to interpret what it meant. I told her because we were in the middle of talking when I seen it. I just blinked and I seen it, and I was like, I just had this vision of like a black circle over like a crescent shape and some type of shape underneath of it that I wasn't able to distinguish. So today I thought about it again when I woke up because I haven't slept in like 3 or 4 days. The pain has just been unbearable. And I finally slept last night. Sorry, I look crazy, but I finally slept last night. And when I woke up today, I was, running this all through. They decided to hook me up on house arrest. So house arrest came this morning, and they hooked me up. And I know the guy, and he's actually a very good guy. And I guess he's retiring soon, and we were talking about that and everything. And I know the other guy, and they're both, they're good people. I have, no, they've always, been fair, and they're good people. But I'm the one who made the stupid decision. So anyway, they came this morning and they hooked me up and everything. And when he seen my legs, he was like, "Wow, I don't know why they're putting you on house arrest. It isn't like you're going anywhere." I got this. So I put the bracelet on my arm because you can't put it on my leg, obviously. So he's like, "I don't understand why they're hooking you up on house arrest when obviously you're not walking or going anywhere." So he got my medical stuff and everything, and he decided to speak to probation about getting them to take it off. And I don't do anything anyway. I mean, I'm not out breaking a law to begin with. Like I said, this all stemmed from this stupid domestic relations situation with this impossible person that has just been a train wreck, and it's just consistently affected me and my wife and my kids, and it's just a very sad situation to have to deal with. But it is what it is. So anyway, they came this morning and they hooked me up, and now I just got the phone and everything, and they're gonna try to help me out with getting off of the house arrest since I can't walk anyway. And the moral of the story is that everything that I had been shown through my intuition came to pass. Everything worked itself out. I have to pay domestics $1,000, and they're gonna give me some time on doing that. And I gotta, if I have to stay on this house arrest, I'm gonna have to pay $300 and some for the hookup that they did today, and then it's $25 a day out of county and $15 in county, and I'm out, so it's $25 a day. And obviously I can't work, so that's gonna be a huge just problem. But regardless, everything worked itself out in an impossible situation. I mean, I didn't know what to think. Like, I know that sometimes that officials and enforcement use tactics like that to try to scare tactics to try to get the truth and information out of people. And I guess I let it get to me, and that fear basically propelled me down a path that I shouldn't have taken, and now I got to deal with the consequences for a long time, the rest of my life. And it wasn't worth it at all, and it was the stupidest decision I've ever made. And if I would have just answered the door and talked to them, I probably would have had to go to jail for a couple months and until I worked everything out and went in front of the judge. But I wouldn't have two broken legs for the rest of my life. And they said I'm gonna have arthritis and all this other stuff, and it's a serious industry, like or injury. Like I said, they said I have a 30% chance of walking normal again. So I don't know what I'm gonna do, about that situation, but I wanna just I just wanted to get this out. I haven't posted in a couple days, and I've alluded to this a few times in other videos about the situation that I had going on that I couldn't really talk about, but that was the situation, and it just blows my mind that even through all of this higher power, when you have your heart in the right place and when you are genuinely a good person and you're doing the right things will happen, and your spirit guides and your higher power, God, Jesus, whatever you believe in, will take care of you and will guide you through whatever it is, the ordeal that you're going through. And that's exactly what has happened through the worst possible situation. I thought that this was the end of the world. I thought I was, I just assumed the worst. And it wasn't the case. I just, like I said, I let that fear play in my mind, and it just reached a boiling point, and it is what it is. But anyway, that's how important it is to follow these lessons and these signs that are given to us. And I want to go back to this eclipse vision that I had last night. Now, as far as what we've been talking about up to this point with the events that are going to occur, this is pretty shitty way to go into all this. I don't even know what to say, but it's a pretty shitty way to go into all this. But regardless, I think the symbolization of this eclipse is the reversal of the polarities, or the clearing of karma. So, past lives, past lifetimes, and how like the Dalai Lama has incarnated 20 some times and does a special test, to all the kids in Tibet, where they take items that are identical, with slight differences, and that's how they find the new reincarnated Dalai Lama, is by these kids. They have to pick out every item that belonged to the previous Dalai Lama. And that's how they know which child the new Dalai Lama has incarnated to. And the point of what I'm saying is that through these different lifetimes, we're given different lessons, and we build up this sort of static energy that is in our karma, or in our aura, that follows us. And we're meant to basically live all these different experiences until we're able to overcome physical desires and basically the selfishness that exists through our consciousness. And I've been I've been noticing as I've solidified my faith and given my will away, and have started to follow the will of my intuition and my higher power. And as I talk about, the first instinct or reaction to any situation that you have is always the right one. That's your heart speaking. That's your that's your compass. That's how and we always go back and argue with that instinct with our conscious mind. And that's the polarity, the duality. And by taking our own will and trying to basically create, our path with our own will, we create these karmic resonances that affect us without us really realizing it. And with this whole shift in the energy that's taking place, the karma is being let go. The karma that we have been developing over all these generations and lifetimes, individually and as a group, conscious, is starting to clear, and we are able to basically make our own path moving forward, based on what we do now. And for example, if you've been a terrible person your whole life, and your karma has just been, absolutely terrible as well, then if you change your mind state and you now become someone who is trying to help other people, and you're doing the right thing, and now you want to do good, and you still have bad luck and all these bad things happening to you, that's a reverberation of your karma, of the negative energy that that your frequency has been continually putting out for as many lifetimes as you've been around. And with this eclipse, with the overlapping, it's like a Vesica Pisces. It's the fundamental, they call, like the flower of life, they call it. It's the fundamental, it's the division of the cells. That's how we grow, that's how we live. It's basically, how anything in this physical realm, cells divide. And what I seen with this what looked like an eclipse was, basically two circles over each other that were just slightly off centered, but they were facing north and south, because the white, say there's a white circle and then a black circle the exact same size over top of each other, and the black circle is shifted just a little bit to the top. The white circle is going to be sticking out in the shape of a crescent. So the way I interpreted that was that there's just that little bit left of basically the shift. And the events of the last couple weeks have really proven, this to me, because I am so consciously aware of everything that I do and think, and analyze everything, because everything that we create up here manifests out here. As above, so below, and as within, without. And we always need to be vigilant on what we are projecting, because our thoughts are frequencies. Our thoughts are physical things. They're not just empty things that bounce around in our heads. When you think something, you think that you're thinking it in privacy. Well, you're not. You're actually projecting that thought. And people can think some pretty crazy things. And you say, well, I've thought of some crazy shit. It's never happened. Well, you got to understand that there's also, a physical barrier here, and there's other forces, at work. And if your heart is set on one thing, and if you're considering other things, you're putting those things out there as potentials, but your main focus, the main stream of energy, isn't focused on on that specific thing. So you're going to get like a mixed frequency pattern, and like an interference pattern, and you basically get just random bad luck. And it's this to make this, short, this basically showed me that we are now coming to this point with, with the changing of the ages, with moving into the age of Aquarius, and these are all energy. This is all energy shifts, and the different alignment of the planets and their frequencies create different harmonics and a different frequency in the universe, and our brains basically act as a conduit to the energy that we exist in. If you look up like basically I forget the name of it, something tronics. It's where they have when you pass frequency or sound through matter or through a media, it will vibrate to the frequency of the sound, to the oscillations, or when, like, if you have a glass of water and you set it on a speaker and you're playing different bass notes, that water is going to vibrate to different geometric patterns depending on the frequencies. Well, essentially, our minds operate the same way. So each planet has a specific frequency that it gives out, and that frequency basically acts on our brain waves, because, as you know, your heartbeat is a wave, our thoughts are waves, and everything is vibration, everything is waves. It's been proven in the double slot experiment that matter doesn't even exist, only as a potential of our perception. And basically what I'm getting at is that we are coming to a point collectively where we are able to, depending on our inner being, who we essentially are in our core, if you're more inclined to be a good person or a bad person, to think positively or negatively, you're going to create that with or what's around you according to your disposition. And I'm recording this on my phone, so the memory keeps filling up and it keeps cutting me off, and I keep having to delete stuff, and I just deleted everything, so hopefully it doesn't cut me off again. But I think it's semantics. I think it's called semantics, the word that I was talking about before, with sound and frequency and how it affects everything. And I was talking about the water. Our bodies are made of water. So frequency, our brains are transmitters and receivers. We project and we receive transmissions or frequency through our brain waves, biochemical electrical signals that operate, within the magnetics of our planet and the universe, and everything is a fractal. But I know I keep, straying away. I'm just trying to get a couple little details that are important in. So, as we're moving into this new era, and the karma is being released, there's not going to be a time that divides from the time that we conceptualize the thought to the time that the thought is realized. Is getting shorter and shorter. It used to take weeks for things to manifest. And then it was days. Now it's hours for me. And a lot of other people, I'm sure. But what we're moving towards is basically 0-point gravity, as I keep talking about. And 0-point gravity, or the 3 days of darkness, or whatever, is the null zone, where there is no outside force that is dictating to us. So whatever we think is going to manifest how we think it without the outside influence. As it says in the Bible, that those who know no better shall not be judged. And that we shall basically judge ourselves. And the way that that takes place is, for example, if you're driving down the road and you're thinking about, something bad happening, and you're thinking about driving off into a ditch or something, or you're visualizing these different things that you have no reason to visualize, but people just run these different scenarios through their mind. People live vicariously through their thoughts to experience these situations. But if you're thinking about these things and you're driving down the road, say you're thinking about that, a deer will run out in front of you or something, and you'll swerve off the road to go into the ditch and manifest what you were thinking about. And that's how we basically are going to judge ourselves, because as we get closer to this point of overlapping, or of 0 point, where the positive and the negative ends of the spectrum come together, -1 and +1 are 0. When these two forces that we live in, the duality that we live in, combine, or basically have a status quo, there's going to be a point of 0 point, which is the field in which we can operate from without any influence. So we are currently in a negative vibration. We're in the negative end of the rotation, and there's so many thousand years we're in the negative, so many thousand years we're in the positive. And we're coming to this point where we go back into the positive from the negative. And what comes with that is instant manifestation. So if I know that a lot of you have sent me emails. A lot of you have I've had a lot of conversations with people, and everybody's noticing this as well. And there's a lot of people that can relate that when you think something without placing intention on it, you just peripherally think something, like something, without attaching any emotion to it. Like, for example, if you're thinking about, tacos or something, within a few hours or something, you'll be, out somewhere and you'll see a billboard of a taco or something like that. It'll come to you, it'll manifest. And you'll be like, I was just thinking about that. And then you see it. I mean, any random type of situation like that you could think of where you'll be, what a coincidence. Anytime you're like, wow, that's a coincidence. There is no such thing as coincidences. But the point is that we're getting to this point where, as I keep saying, the karma is going to be cleared and lifted, and our inner selves are going to come through. So if you are someone who constantly thinks bad things and thinks pessimistically in the negative, and in the negative by, like, I don't want this to happen, or thinking about things that you don't want to happen, rather than thinking positively and thinking in terms of definitive things, like not second guessing yourself. When you're confident and you have faith in who you are and what you're thinking, and you're righteous, when you think with righteousness, you will create righteously. And when you think with fear and doubt, you will create with fear and doubt. And for the last couple thousand years, there has been other forces, other people's intentions, other outside influences have affected us. Not only that, but our own prior actions and energies that we have been dragging along with us through our evolution, our soul's evolution. And that is all about to end. And we're going to come to this point where, like I said, the separation is taking place. It says the meek shall inherit the earth. Those that are poor at heart will be rich, in heaven. And those, everything is opposites in the Bible, and it speaks of, just all these different. It speaks in these different riddles and these metaphors that the meaning of it is that basically by wanting things you're going to get the negative. That's why the devil has control over this realm, because by using your conscious mind, or the mind that you're experiencing this with, you're using a negative. Okay, that's why we're created in the image of God. An image is a reflection. It's the opposite, and our eyes even perceive things backwards and reverse, and everything is in this negative end of the spectrum. We're trying to create in a negative frequency with a negative power, and it's not possible. You're going to get the opposite. So the things that you want to happen don't, and the things that you don't want to happen do happen. Well, that's reversing shortly, and it's been reversing, and that's what this eclipse to me represented, was this reversal and this 0-point gravity. And as I said, I basically seen that we are almost at the point of convergence of the singularity, and it is so important that people understand that what you think and who you are inside, who you truly are, is going to dictate everything that happens to you from here on out. So if you're thinking with judgment, and you're thinking with desire or selfishness, or if you're thinking along the lines of doing things to benefit yourself, you're going to create basically this field around you that is going to draw. You're magnetically charging yourself, or your soul, or your energy. You're charging that to draw those things towards you. And like, if you're thinking, like for me, for example, I deeply, genuinely care about people, and when I see people hurt, it hurts me, because I can sympathize, I can empathize with people. And ESP is the ability to understand other people by understanding it through how you experience it, by being able to relate. And if you don't have that, then you're in for a rough ride. And I constantly think about how my actions are going to affect other people, and what I can do to help other people. And I don't think in terms of not wanting things to happen to me. I think in terms of basically knowing that I'm right where I need to be. And all the synchronicities that I see on a daily basis show me that I'm on the path. Those coincidences that you see. You got to learn to be able to differentiate between what you're manifesting and the path that you're on. Basically, I really didn't want to get too in depth with this, but everything is happening simultaneously at the same time. Through there's so many different, it's all quantum physics, but through string theory and parallel universes and all these different theories by the so-called smartest people in the world, it's been determined that everything basically has happened in every possible way that can happen. And we're an extension. Each one of these different frequency bands or dimensions contains a different path that we are living, or a different set of outcomes. And they're all exist, simultaneously, but are divided by this veil, this band of frequencies. And it goes in an infinite pattern in a circle. And it's basically nothing new can happen. Like this has already been done. Like this conversation this video you're watching has already been done. This has already been done, and I've said, I've said this in uncountable different ways, and it's just it's really hard to explain and wrap your mind around. But there's a destiny, there's fate, there's destiny, and then there's creation, self-will, or free will. And we have free will to a certain extent, but in the overall spectrum, everything has already happened, because time does not exist. Time only exists in our perception. And because time doesn't exist, everything, exists as a whole, as one at the same time. And the fractured realities of our existences are basically our soul extensions. And we are basically, if you've ever seen the movie The One with Jet Li, it's, I think it's similar to that, where our different soul extensions, or our different aspects, our different facets are going to be accessible to us. Some call it the Akashic Record. There's many different names for it. God. Whatever you call it. We are coming to a point where we're going to be in full contact with that, and we weren't ready for this. And a lot of people still aren't ready for this, but according to history, we've been around for 6,000 years. So that's nothing in the grand scale of time. So, people just really have no idea what it is that we really exist as. But, there's plenty of evidence that says that, there's been multiple other civilizations that have existed right here on Earth that have been advanced. Atlantis, Lemuria, and even before them, and basically the human race is now coming to the point that we are advancing beyond this prison that we live in of thought, which is the attitude of uniqueness, or of being separated. And we are not separated. We are all, our collective conscious makes up our soul body. And what the golden rule, you do unto others as you do unto yourself, because when you do unto others, you are doing unto yourself. If you wish something bad to happen to somebody else, it's not like you're trying to curse people. It's going to be interpreted by your subconscious as that happening to you as well. It isn't like there's something that differentiates that intention from the person that you're directing it at and yourself. By directing that energy, you're directing that energy, and that's going to affect anybody, that's in range of that. And anybody that's in range of that is everybody, because we're all connected behind the curtain. Sorry, I'm just in pain. But anyway, like I said, I don't want to make this too long, but the point is that everything that I've been trying to teach and talking to people about, I disregarded in this situation that happened this week. And this is the last reminder that I'm going to need, basically to have faith and to follow, my higher power. And it was a painful lesson, and it's going to be a long-lasting lesson. But I believe it was necessary to, symbolically, my legs got broke. Stop running. Stop running away. Stop trying to escape, what's taking place, and stay and work through it, and accept it. Because even though I know, these things, I'm still human, and it's still so hard to try to live without judgment or doubt. And it's like a parasite. Once you let it, oh my God, once you let it in, it's going to, feed and continue feeding. And if you feed it and feed it and feed it, it's going to grow and get bigger, and it's going to eventually, manifest itself in a negative manner, precisely as it did in my case. And with this change that's coming with the energy, it is so important, so important, to clear your mind of fear and doubt and judgment, and to basically be honest with who you are, and find out what truly makes you happy, and pursue it. And not only pursue it, but try to help others, because we're all on this path together, and each one of us influences the other. And if I'm walking through, a restaurant, and there's 50 people in that restaurant, and I'm thinking all this nasty, negative things, then each one of those people, as I walk by, are going to subconsciously intercept those thoughts, and get that sickening type of feeling, or they're going to have a messed up, random thought pop in their mind, and they're going to be like, where did that come from? And not realize that they just basically, intercepted, my negative thought. And everything basically works like that. And what I keep talking about, with this 0-point gravity, is, this time that is coming. And I just think I'm talking in circles at this point. I'm trying to just drive this point across, because this is the main point and the main theme in all of my videos, is that we will be held accountable for everything that we do. And there's nobody that's sitting up there with a tablet with a good or bad list. And there's nobody that has the ability to control who you are as your essence but you. And every decision and every thought that pops into your mind is a result, of many different things, environment, family, beliefs, ethnicity, tradition, everything you've been taught, all these different things, everything that has been put onto us, and the way that we utilize and the way that we've developed from that, basically dictates, who we are as people. And as we grow old enough to recognize right from wrong and good from bad, we also have a decision that comes with that, and which path we choose to follow. And cutting corners and doing things the easy way, and trying to personally gain, and doing things for a selfish reason, lead to a judgment. You're judging yourself of something that's not very good. And the other day I had this vision of I can't remember what it was, but the message was basically that not to be lazy or complacent, and that, you know, I needed to basically just not be lazy, and cutting corners and things like that, being lazy, are basically the trademarks of criminal thinking. Trying to take the easiest route, because doing the right thing isn't easy. It's not easy to control what you think. It's not easy to control what you do. It's not easy to control the thoughts that come in your mind. But by, you know, working diligently every day, and by reprogramming your mind and retraining your mind to think in a different pattern, it'll start coming more naturally, and it'll become easier and easier, until eventually you're able to put all that negative thinking out of your mind, and your autopilot becomes one of a positive nature. And those that are not able to do that, and that don't realize that, will just continue to revolve in this cycle until they break the chain. And there's an opportunity coming for those of us that are, you know, awakened to this, to advance to the next level. And you're only going to advance given your heart is ready, because heaven, or whatever you want to consider it, the next dimension up, or the next reality, has no fear. It has no negative energy. It's bliss. It's happiness. It's there's no negative thoughts. And it so much so is to the point where if you think negatively, it's like the fall of man type deal. Like, if you're, you know, basically up thinking positively, and, you know, you're existing as a frequency of positive vibration, and then you suddenly have a negative thought, that negative thought can't exist in that frequency range once you evolve so high. So that negative thought is going to drop you. Negative thoughts only exist in the lower frequencies. And if we don't learn how to control and how to basically reprogram our minds why we're here, that's the whole purpose of why we're here. That's why we're alive. That's why we're here. And that's why, you know, it takes. That's why there's a lag time for the manifestation of things, because it gives us an opportunity to realize the things that we're thinking and doing, and to change them. And that's the ultimate lesson, is to basically overcome the negative and all the bad vibrations that exist in the lower frequencies. And, you know, some people are inclined to live in that frequency, you know, in that lower negative realm, and that's fine, because, you know, eventually everything leads, you know, to the one. And if those people didn't exist, if that end of the spectrum didn't exist, the other end wouldn't exist. So, I mean, I keep saying good and bad. There's really nothing that is good and bad. It just comes down to your perception on what is good and bad. And to me, it's basically like, sorry, I got cut off again. But I want to try to wrap this up. It basically comes down to this. If you don't know where you're supposed to be, and if you're seeking something higher, and if you have an urge in your heart to pursue this, and it rings, true, then the best thing you can do is to clear your mind and live in the moment, live in the now. When you live in this moment, you're not projecting, any type of future events on yourself, or you're not living in the past. When you just live in the moment, your mind will be clear because you're not thinking about, what's going to happen tomorrow, what's going to happen next week, all these different things. We've been taught to think in this, in this pattern that keeps us trapped. By living in the now, you're experiencing life as it comes to you, moment by moment, as you see it. And when you take away all of that extra thought and all that extra crap that you mix in, it creates a space, creates a void, because, there was once a bunch of random thoughts and just crap, and now that's gone. So that space needs to be filled. And what fills that space is basically the energy of God or love, the energy that we are all made of at our core. And it isn't until you start taking direction rather than using self-will that you will start being shown the path. They call it the path for a reason, because it's a route to get to a specific place. And the only way you're going to get to the place that you're trying to get to is by listening to the person that is in that place, or the thing that is in that place, and the directions that it gives you to get there. And by basically killing your ego, and your ego is basically your conscious mind, the thing that wants, loves, needs, that does all these things. In my past videos I've talked about, how love is actually not a good thing. Because love, there's a million different things that are defined as love, okay? And I just think it's a trap, because a million things aren't love. Love, love has been defined as relationships, as sex, as, what you feel for your children, as, what you feel about a sports team, all these different things that just aren't true. Love takes place in the void, and the void is basically exists without intention. It's the 0 point state. So when you push all these things out of your mind, things will start coming in. That space will start being filled. And the way that we receive any information or energy is through thoughts, through our pictures that we see in our mind. Okay? And you got to understand that when you see things in your mind, you see them in light. So how do you see, where does that light come from that you see things with in your mind? Because there's no light bulb in there that projects, your thoughts onto a TV screen, or there's no light inside of your thoughts to see the things that you see. So how do you see them without light? Because the way we see things is refractions of light. It's all reflections and different variations of the reflections. So when you see these things in your mind, you got to understand and learn how to interpret them. So if the main way that we receive and and navigate in this world is through our thoughts, through these pictures that come into our mind, then that is the way that we've got to learn to communicate or to understand what's being said. So if somebody only had pictures to show you, if somebody was deaf, mute, and had no other way of talking to you besides drawing pictures to show you what they mean, you've got to look at it like that. So, like I said, when you stop thinking, you'll start noticing these things coming into your mind, these thoughts that you consider random, and they, they'll pop up, and you'll be like, where did that come from? Well, you got to look at that, and you need to be 100% honest with yourself. If you lie to yourself, just forget about it, because you're not going to ever get it. When you are honest with yourself, and you learn to differentiate what comes from you and what comes from God, then you'll learn to understand how to listen and take direction. And as you start to learn, that's what meditation is all about. Meditation is about clearing your mind. When monks, or when they meditate, they sit and clear their mind, and they try to get their energy aligned and all this stuff. That's what they're doing. They're clearing their mind, because how are you going to receive a message if you're the only one talking? It's not going to happen. There's a famous old saying, take the cotton out of your ears and put it in your mouth. And that means stop talking and listen. And that's what we need to do. Stop talking and listen. Take direction. We all want to dictate and control everything that happens to us in our life. But we can't. The only way to control what's happening is by giving away the control, if that makes sense. Sacrifice. So when you sacrifice and you give away that control, you're actually gaining control. And then you'll start being given these messages. And these messages will tell you what to do. This isn't some crazy guy speaking that, the society has been, psychiatrists and all this, for one, have the highest suicide rate. Go figure. But they're the ones that are supposed to pick out the children that hear voices and that, that see things and act like they're crazy. To a certain extent, everybody hears voices and everybody is a little crazy, because, if people knew what we truly thought, I don't even think they'd be shocked, because most likely everybody thinks, the most absurd, crazy things that you can imagine, but you would never tell anybody, because out of fear of, ridicule or persecution or whatever it may be. But we all, like I said, vicariously live through these thoughts and experiences, and try to, to feel situations before they happen. Like, you want to experience something before it happens in your mind to see how it's going to feel if you were to do it physically. And by all these things are just, it's all a distraction, and we're taught that we're not supposed to think like that and to stay away from that, but it's not the truth. We all have a voice. We all have a voice that speaks to us. It's called your conscience. And then we all have another voice that speaks to us. It's called your self-will. And then some people may have a couple other voices that are in there speaking, But for the most part, there's your conscious, and then there's your self-will. Your conscious is your heart. That's God. That's how God speaks through you. Your self-will is the devil. That's the interpretation of the devil, the negative energy. And by not letting the devil in, or not letting the negative thoughts or the self-will or the ego or the selfish, behaviors, by not letting that through, you're creating more space to be filled by the God energy or the love energy or whatever you want to call it. But that's, like I said, with no intention. And then you'll start being shown this path. Eventually it comes to a point when you realize that in every situation, when you're given the answer, you argue with it. Say you have an important decision to make about work, and you want this certain thing, but it wouldn't be the best thing for you, but it's the easiest. But then there's this other thing that's much harder, and you basically argue with yourself and try to choose what is the easiest and the most beneficial for you. And that comes back to this thing I was talking about with being lazy. I mean, we argue with ourselves and struggle, and then choose the thing that we think is going to benefit us the most with the least amount of loss. And all of that thinking is just is flawed, because that initial feeling, that initial message that we're given, our inner voice, the small voice, our conscience tells you what you need to do. But then you dictate to it what you're going to do by what you feel you should do, by all the different variables that have, basically created your perspective. And when you learn to start following those things that you're told to do, when you follow your heart, when you follow your conscience, and you stop and you give away your will and you start following that path, it's like miracle after miracle takes place, because then you align yourself with your higher power, and then you're in sync with your heart and your soul and other people and everything around you. And you're not trying to create through the negative. You're receiving guidance and direction. And that's one of the biggest issues that these Luciferians have with this whole the whole fall, the angels rebelling against God. That's what they rebelled against. They rebelled against taking direction. They rebelled against following the word. They rebelled against that and took their own will. They basically said, all of this is here, and we can do anything we want through free will. Why would we listen to this voice and do what it wants when we can do what we want and be our own God? And that's where this all comes down, what this all comes down to. And the angels rebelled against this voice, and that was the fall of consciousness. And that created the duality, the separation, the split, the ego. There's many different things, but that's what created it. And it was taking our will, because it was viewed as we were slaves, more or less. We were being dictated to on how to live. And that's not how it is, because the infinite source knows everything. It knows everything, every outcome. It is every outcome. And it directs us based upon the highest path possible that we can take in every situation. Now, the problem comes down to that higher path sometimes isn't easy. For example, your higher path, there may be a lesson you need to learn. Like me, with this whole situation, like maybe you need to get your legs broken. Who wants to have their legs broken? Nobody. So you're going to obviously choose to do something else rather than have your legs broken if that's the path that you were shown. You're not going to want to do that, so you're going to choose something else because you think you know best. And you think that, why would I need my legs broken? And you don't realize that while your legs are broken, maybe your whole life you've been struggling to have money, or you've been struggling for this, or you've been struggling for that. Maybe if your legs didn't get broken, you went on and went down a different path, and you went to work every day and you struggled for the rest of your life and then died and didn't know no better. But getting your legs broken, maybe you were at home and out of work, and then you run into an opportunity that puts you into a position where all the things that that you've been trying to manifest start happening. And then you get a random offer, or something takes place that you come into money, and then you're in the situation that you've been trying to be in, but it took that event happening for this other set of events to happen. And that's where the sacrifice comes in, because you've got to be willing to sacrifice your desire and your self-will to follow the higher path. And the higher path isn't what we want sometimes, but most of the time it isn't what we want, because it's not the easiest. It's not easy at all, as a matter of fact. The higher path is usually the harder path. And the attitude of these people in control is like, they're God. They believe they're God. And when you have money and power and control, you don't think you have to listen to a damn person. And you think that you're in control. And when you're used to calling shots and you're a boss, nobody's going to tell me what to do. Nobody's going to tell me what to do. I'm the man. And, that's the trap. That's the trap. Because we all live constantly in abundance. We just cut ourselves off from that based on our perception that thinks that we know best. So, trying to wrap this up, it basically comes down to trying to take the harder path and listen to the direction that you're given, and not, going out and doing dumb stuff and taking the easy path and cutting corners because it's, there's for instant gratification. And I'm going to end this now, finally. But I can guarantee you that once you change your perception and try to utilize these things, and you hold your faith and you do these things for a long enough period of time that you're able to implement them and start doing them naturally, you will notice magic take place in your life, because you will be in tune with your higher self, and your higher self always puts you in the right place at the right time and always tells you the best route to take in any situation, and will always lead you to the best outcome, no matter how hard the path looks. You have to have faith that you're being guided. And I mean, that's it. It really comes down to, like I've said before, it's pretty simple when you say it, always choose the best, or always choose your first instinct, and don't be lazy, and no matter how hard it is or how much you don't want to do it, follow through. And you do good things and you'll receive good things. You do bad things, you'll receive bad things. And some people, call it psychic. Some people call it, extrasensory perceptions and all these different names. I just call it being the humans that we are, because we're all born with this higher connection. We all have a soul, most of us anyway. And we've only been around for this very short period of time, and the research into this has only been going on for, you know, maybe a couple hundred years at most. You know, Freud and all these different, fathers of psychology and sociology, and, all these different, studies of behaviors and how our minds work. It's not, we don't know. We don't know who we are or what our purpose is. Most people don't know why we're here. And a lot of people believe that we're just here living, for no reason, and then we just die, and then we're buried in the ground, and that's it. There's nothing afterwards. It's just it couldn't be that couldn't be, further from the truth. This is this body is a chrysalis. It's like a caterpillar, turning into a butterfly. This body is a vessel for us to metamorphosis into the next stage. And this is like a controlled learning ground for us to learn and to be tested in order to move to the next level. And if you're not ready for the next level, then you will continue to be reborn into this, into this game until, enough lifetimes have gone by that you start retaining this, and you start being able to, pick these patterns out and start understanding them and utilizing them. And I'm just gonna end it. I'll be posting another video shortly. Sorry this was scattered. It was, I really didn't try to put too much together. I just wanted to get this up and share my experience, and I hope that it helps some people out that are struggling with these things, and understanding that we do have a purpose, and everything that you do isn't in vain, and it isn't something that happens that just is in for no reason. Like, everything has a reason. Everything happens for a reason. Nothing happens by coincidence. And we do have a path, and we do have a purpose. And that purpose is to help ourselves, which is helping each other, to move forward on this path and this journey of evolving and becoming, better and basically, moving forward. It's just the constant, we're constantly moving forward. We're constantly evolving. If there's no growth, then there is no purpose. If you're not growing, I mean, if you're not constantly seeking to make yourself better or to try to help other people become better, then you're in the way. And I mean, that's just it. And it's taken me a long time to learn these lessons, and I've been through a lot of stuff. And it gets to a point when you get sick of living with the pain and the stress every day, that you're willing to try whatever is necessary to change your life for the better. My ideal life is to have my kids, my family, and to be able to go fishing and enjoy outdoors and just enjoy life while I'm here without being stressed out about money or this or that or any of that. Just to live in the sunshine on the beach. Like, it's pretty simple. And I've learned that, you know, I've always been bored my whole life. That's one of the things that drive me. Like when I'm bored, you know, boredom gets people in trouble, because when you're bored, you look for something to make life exciting. And I have found excitement in boredom. And when you're able to be content with being bored, then you'll know that you are on the right path, because we put ourselves on this roller coaster of feeling good then feeling bad, feeling good then feeling bad. Because if it wasn't for the sunshine, or wasn't for the rain, you wouldn't appreciate the sunshine. If it wasn't for the good times, you wouldn't, or the bad times, you wouldn't appreciate the good times. Vice versa. I'm sure you understand what I'm saying. We wouldn't, you know, if we didn't have bad things happen to us, we wouldn't know to appreciate the good things. So I've had enough bad things happen to me in my life that I am just content loving and being loved and being with my family. I mean, that's it. I've got, you know, I've got a situation that has been killing me for years, that I want to resolve in the worst way, and it's just I can't control other people, and everybody needs to come to this in their own way. This is just my personal path, and you know, the experiences that have happened to me. Every one of you have your own experiences and your own pain and your own troubles and your own, you know, stuff that's happened to you. And when you understand, you know, that you cause everything that happens to you in your life, and you have a choice to remove yourself or your self-will from that equation, which will essentially remove all the things that you don't want to happen to you. And I mean, it's to me, it's just, you know, it's been beaten into my mind, you know, and I'm grateful for all of the experiences that have happened to me, you know, mostly for the bad ones, because the bad ones are the ones that made me realize that when things are going good, it's uneventful, you know. It's like, I used to always have to be running. I used to always have to be out, you know, with friends, doing something, you know, always moving, always on the go, always on the go. For the last 5 years, you know, ever since I've started embracing this, you know, that's gone. Like, I don't want to do anything anymore. I don't even want to leave my house. I just want to be with my family and, you know, just enjoy life. That's my goal, you know, in life these days, is just to, you know, along the way, take time to smell the flowers. I mean, it's like, you gotta learn to appreciate the small things. It's all the little things that count in life. Less is more, you know, and that's, if I could give you one you know, statement or quote or whatever, if I could give you one thing that I try to live by now, it is less is more. And that is, you know, it's always held true. And, you know, I think I'm just going to end it with that. You know, less is more, and learn to be content and appreciate the small things. Be grateful for what you have rather than wanting something else. Because once we get, you know, the beautiful girl and the perfect job, we want something else. We get bored and we need to liven it up. You know, like kids in school, you know, get in trouble for attention, and they do things to act out because they're bored, you know, and a lot of this comes down to this childish boredom thing. And you know, after a while you realize that that's it. Stay vigilant, stay tuned, and I'll be posting some new videos here soon.